It started over pizza. Not even the good kind, just 2 large pies from a chain place near the highway, dropped on the table without plates. A Thursday night. Kara didn't feel like cooking, and no one offered to help. I had been home since 6. The house smelled like microwave cheese and that peach candle she lit every time she didn't want to talk. We ate in the living room. Kara on the couch, Milo and Lucas sprawled across the floor, each scrolling something different. I sat at the edge of a chair I had paid for, on the carpet I had paid to steam clean twice last year, in a house I paid $8,790 a month to rent. No one said thank you. They never did. Milo made a joke. I don't remember it exactly, something about boomer logic when I suggested they stop eating on the couch. Lucas laughed too hard, the way sons laugh when they know their mother will let them get away with it. Then Kara smiled, tilted her wine glass toward me, and said almost casually, "You're trash. You don't even deserve to live under the same roof." The room didn't go quiet. That's what struck me most. There was no record scratch moment. No gasps. Just the hum of the dishwasher and the flicker of a TV screen reflecting in the window. The boys didn't flinch. They didn't even look at her. They looked at me, smirked, as if I was the last one in the room to get the joke. And maybe I was. I didn't speak. I didn't ask what she meant, or who she thought she was speaking to. I didn't remind her of the things I'd done, of the years I'd worked 60-hour weeks to keep this family above water, while her ex-husband sent birthday cards without return addresses. I didn't say the word ungrateful. I didn't say a word at all, because it wouldn't have mattered. They had already decided who I was. And it wasn't father. It wasn't man of the house. It wasn't husband. I was nothing but background noise with a debit card. Lucas snatched the last breadstick and offered it to Milo with a mock bow. Milo called him my liege. They laughed like siblings do, bound by something I could never touch. Blood, memory, shared contempt. Kara didn't laugh, but she didn't stop them either. That was always her gift, that silence. She didn't have to say the words. She just let them stand. And what do you say when your wife, the woman you've protected, provided for, defended in rooms full of men who thought she was weak, tells you that you don't even deserve the roof you pay for? What would you have said? I stared at my slice of pizza like it had betrayed me. The cheese had gone cold. The crust sagged. One more thing I had bought for a family that no longer saw me as part of it. I looked around the room, and it hit me all at once. The pictures on the wall were all of them. Kara with the boys at the lake. Kara and the boys at Christmas. Kara and the boys at Milo's graduation. There was one of me, tucked behind the lamp in the hallway. A photo from 5 years ago. I was standing too far off to the side. This house was never mine. I had rented it, yes, signed the lease, paid the deposit, even furnished the upstairs office with my own bonus check last winter. But it wasn't mine. It belonged to the 3 of them. I was just the ghost who brought groceries. Milo got up to throw his plate away. Lucas stretched and yawned. Kara poured more wine. Her 3rd glass. I watched the red swirl in the goblet and imagined her words echoing, long after the wine was gone. You're trash. I thought about all the times I had patched things quietly, paid Lucas's parking tickets without telling him, rewired the basement myself when we couldn't afford an electrician, negotiated the lease down from $9,400 with charm I didn't feel just to keep us from drowning in debt. I thought about the time Kara's engine died on the freeway, and I left a board meeting to pick her up, arriving with bottled water and a new phone charger because I knew hers was dead. She didn't say thank you then either. Trash. I didn't need a scene. I didn't need to scream, because what they'd done, all 3 of them, was worse than shouting. They'd forgotten I was a man, that I bled for them, that every damn thing in that house, the new couch, the fridge humming in the background, the utilities that no one ever thought twice about, came from me, from my back, my spine, my years. Milo came back in the room, passed by me without looking. I watched him go, watched the way he carried himself like someone who believed he'd been wronged by the world before ever contributing to it. 18 years old and already convinced he was owed something. Lucas followed, laughing at something on his phone. Maybe it was about me. Kara didn't meet my eyes. Not once. Just kept sipping her wine, looking toward the TV, as if there was nothing more to say. as if I hadn't just been publicly erased. I thought of how many nights I'd come home late, aching, only to find her curled up on the couch with them, wine glass in hand, like I was intruding on some sacred ritual. I thought of the vacations I had paid for and never enjoyed, the therapy she begged me to pay for, just for Lucas to get through senior year, the time I canceled my own dental work to afford Milo's textbooks. Trash. The word stuck in my chest like a splinter, and yet I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask for an apology, because some things are worse than insult, and silence, when it stretches like that, becomes its own kind of violence. They hadn't just insulted me, they'd erased me. There's a moment in every man's life, every real man, when he realizes the people he protects no longer see him as necessary. When he becomes ornamental, disposable, convenient. That moment had come, and no one in that room even noticed. I sat there for a long time after they'd gone upstairs. The TV buzzed low in the background. Kara didn't say goodnight. She didn't touch my shoulder or ask if I was okay. Just walked past me like I was air. Eventually, I stood up, walked through the house like a stranger, touched the doorknobs, the faucet, the light switches, all the things I had paid for, all the things that had once made me feel like I had built something. And now, I realized I had built nothing. I had fed a machine that ran on entitlement and silence. I had poured myself into a vessel that never planned to hold me. I climbed the stairs alone. The hallway light flickered. Milo had left his socks on the landing. Kara's door was closed. Lucas's music played too loud behind his door. No one said goodnight. No one cared if I slept. No one noticed what they had done. But I noticed, and that was the night I stopped pretending. I didn't make a scene. I didn't shatter a glass or slam a door. But something inside me cracked. And once it cracked, it didn't stop breaking. They slept peacefully. That's what I remember most. The first injustice of the night wasn't what Kara said. It wasn't the smirk on Milo's face or Lucas's silence. It was the sound of their sleep, that gentle, ignorant rhythm of people who believed nothing had changed. I lay in the guest room. I hadn't slept in the master bedroom for over 3 weeks. Kara told me I snored too loudly, said it kept her up. The truth was simpler. She didn't want to share space with a man she'd stopped respecting. And I, like a fool, complied. Bought a separate mattress. Ordered it online. Hauled it up the stairs alone. That night I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just stared at the ceiling. And at 3:17 a.m. I got up. Not with a plan. Not with revenge in mind. Just clarity. Cold, methodical clarity. The kind that doesn't come when you're angry, only when you've passed through the fire and found nothing left to burn. I started with the lease. Pulled up the online rental portal. Entered my login. Checked the agreement. My name. My signature. My billing profile. Kara wasn't on the lease. She hadn't wanted the credit check. Said it made her nervous. Said, "You've got better credit, baby." I had believed that was partnership. Turns out it was insulation. I clicked into the settings. Remove co-tenants. Easy. I unchecked her name. Not that it had legal standing. Just a courtesy title she'd added under household members. Nothing binding. Then I scheduled a cancellation. 30 days notice. Lease would end in silence. I wouldn't be there to pack their boxes. I wouldn't call movers for them. They would wake up, weeks from now, to a letter taped to the door. But that wasn't enough. I opened the banking app. The one she never bothered to learn the password to. Too many digits, she used to say. She preferred when I handled it. Every shared account. Frozen. I clicked through them like shutting off lights in an empty building. Joint grocery card? Off. Streaming services? Password changed. The family phone plan I had been paying on for 6 years? Cancelled immediately. Lucas had just upgraded his phone 2 weeks ago. Latest model. I'd paid the extra for memory storage. Milo's tablet, the one he said was for college prep, but used mostly for gaming, gone too. If the device was under my plan, it was now blacklisted. I moved to the insurance accounts. Car coverage canceled for both vehicles. I left Kara's on for now. Not because I cared. Just because I didn't want her calling me after a fender bender, acting confused. Then came the big one. Their family credit card. It wasn't in Kara's name. It wasn't in Milo's. It wasn't in Lucas's. It was mine. I'd opened it after Kara begged for a way to teach the boys financial responsibility. Said we could set spending limits. That we'd monitor it together. That monitoring never happened. I was the only one who checked statements. I knew every Uber Eats order, every online game pass, every clothing store charge. Milo once spent $240 on a hoodie that arrived 3 days late. Lucas ordered sushi at 1 a.m. on a school night. They never asked. They never said thank you. They swiped and tapped like the world owed them comfort. I opened the card settings and locked them both out. Then I set the final trap. Autopay off. The rent payment due in 10 days would not be coming. Neither would the utilities. Neither would the insurance. Neither would the high school donation drive Kara had signed us up for which I was listed as primary sponsor. All of it. Gone. By 4:12 a.m. I was done. The house was dark. Outside, the rain had started again. That soft Seattle drizzle that falls like memory. I stood at the kitchen window with a glass of water, watching the streetlights flicker. And I felt nothing. No joy. No guilt. Just an eerie kind of balance. For the first time in years, the scales were even. At 6:03 a.m. I packed. Not everything. Just what mattered. The documents, my laptop, 2 suitcases. I left the suits. Let Kara take them to Goodwill or not. I left the second car. Let Milo drive it into the ground. I left the wedding album because what was there to salvage? By 7 o'clock I was gone. I didn't leave a note. I didn't text her. I didn't say goodbye. I took the keys off my chain and slid them through the mail slot before I closed the front door. They clinked once, like punctuation. Then silence. I was on the highway 10 minutes later. New apartment already rented. I'd signed the lease the week before, when I first felt the shift in Kara's tone. I didn't know then that I'd use it, but now it felt inevitable. At 7:19 a.m., the system responded. I know this because I watched it happen in real time. My phone buzzed not with calls but with alerts, email confirmations, app notifications. Kara's Uber account tried to charge the joint card. Declined. Lucas's phone attempted an auto-update. Blocked. The rental portal logged 2 failed login attempts under her name. The system had spoken. And the system finally was mine. I arrived at the new place by 8:40 a.m. Downtown. Smaller. Quieter. No one waiting to tell me I was worthless. Just beige walls, clean carpet, and a fridge humming with disinterest. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. Not for them to call, but for the silence to settle. It didn't take long. At 9:03 a.m. Kara called. I didn't answer. At 9:06 a.m. she texted, "Did you freeze the card? I can't buy anything." At 9:12 a.m. Seriously, what's going on? The rent site's locked. At 9:18 a.m. We need to talk. I left her on read. By 10 o'clock, the bank called her. I know because she messaged me. Did you block me from our account? I just got a fraud warning. I replied with a single sentence. There is no hour. Then I turned the phone off. Let the system keep explaining in my absence. Because that's the thing about men like me, we're trained to endure, to carry it, to swallow insult and wear it like a badge. But there comes a moment when endurance curdles into decision. And when that moment comes, we don't scream, we act. And the system, that quiet, invisible web that holds their comfort in place, responds the only way it knows how. By vanishing. The thing about dependence is they never feel it until it's gone. They didn't notice me while I was there. But they noticed the absence immediately. Not my body, not my voice. That wasn't the absence they feared. It was the absence of function. That Friday morning, while the house still held the warmth of someone who had quietly vanished, the systems I had kept running began to stall. The fridge light was still on, the faucet still ran, the heater still blew its stale comfort, but everything behind the scenes had started to rot. I imagine it began when Kara tried to pay for gas and her card declined. Then again when Lucas's phone lost service and reset mid-call. Milo's gaming account locked him out within the hour. His streaming platforms disappeared. The Wi-Fi pinged red by noon. But none of that prepared them for the knock. It came at 2:47 p.m. Not the soft knock of a neighbor asking for a package. Not the aggressive pound of a teenager playing a prank. This knock had paperwork behind it. Authority. Precision. The landlord. I had only met him twice. Once when I toured the house and once when I negotiated the lease down. He didn't like phone calls. Old school. He liked agreements in ink. Respect in tone. And I had given him both. But I was gone now. And when he arrived, I wasn't the one who answered the door. Kara did. From what I was told later. Through a mix of secondhand messages and screensh *TS. She answered with that same lazy confidence she wore around me. The one that said, "I'm not worried. Someone else will fix it." But he wasn't smiling. He wasn't there for tea. He had a clipboard, an envelope, and questions. "Ms. Langley?" he asked, voice clipped. "I'm looking for Mr. Bradford, the leaseholder." Kara blinked. "He's not here right now." He frowned. "He's not on the property at all?" She hesitated. "No. He left last night." "Why?" He flipped the clipboard. "Your lease was terminated this morning. 30-day notice served electronically. I came to confirm the vacancy schedule." She laughed. I know Kara's laugh. It's sharp when she's uncomfortable. "No, that's a mistake. This is our home." The landlord didn't laugh. "I don't deal in mistakes, Ms. Langley. Your name is not on the lease. This property is tied to a single account. That account has been closed. The final payment has not processed." At that point, I can imagine the shift. The panic. The beginning of understanding. Kara tried calling me. 3 missed calls in the span of 5 minutes. I watched them from my new kitchen, stirring instant coffee with a plastic spoon. The heat of satisfaction blooming slow behind my ribs. She texted, "Please answer. He's at the house. He's saying crazy things." "Michael, what is happening?" I didn't reply. She handed the phone to the landlord. I know this because the next text was from him. "Mr. Bradford, please confirm your intention to vacate. I need verbal confirmation." I didn't respond to that either. Let them stew. Let them taste the silence I'd lived in for years. According to the lease terms, the ones Kara never read, unauthorized occupants had 72 hours to present legal tenancy or vacate. It was brutal. I'd warned her once early on. "Make sure your name's on things," I said. "It matters." She brushed it off. "It's just paperwork. You worry too much." Now the paperwork was at the door. And it wasn't smiling. Lucas came downstairs during the exchange. Shirtless. Confused. The landlord asked who he was. Lucas said, "I live here." The landlord asked for a lease. Lucas blinked. "My mom's boyfriend rents this place." The landlord wrote something on his clipboard. Then he handed Kara the envelope. 30 days, he said again. "If no payment is processed by the end of the week, I'll begin the early vacancy procedure." Kara's voice cracked. He wouldn't just leave, but I had. And now the house knew it. The boys tried calling their biological father that night. Todd, the man whose name still lived on Lucas's birth certificate, who showed up for graduations and disappeared by dessert. The man who called Milo Sport and never remembered his birthday. He didn't answer. Not the first time. Not the second. Not the third. Lucas left a voicemail. His voice was tight, controlled. "Hey, it's me. Something's going on. Can you call back?" He never did. Milo didn't even try. He knew. Todd was a myth, a shadow, a bloodline with no backbone. And now, for the first time, they needed him. Not just to say, "Proud of you." Not just to drop off a check every 6 months. They needed his name, his credit, his presence. But ghosts don't sign leases. And ghosts don't show up when the rent is due. By 7 p.m. the house was quiet. No music. No laughter. Just whispers behind thin walls. I imagined Kara on the phone with a friend, searching for sympathy. Lucas pacing. Milo rechecking the Wi-Fi every 5 minutes, hoping it was a glitch. It wasn't. The network name had changed. I'd renamed it. Trying to say. I don't know if they ever saw it. By 8 p.m. Kara sent another message. This isn't like you. Please talk to me. We can figure this out. But that's where she was wrong. This was like me. This was exactly me. Silent, precise, surgical. I had spent years being patient. Years pretending that tolerance was the same as peace. But all I'd really done was delay the storm. Now they were standing in the rain, and the umbrella they mocked had vanished. At 8:43 p.m. I got a message from Milo. Just 2 words. You left. No anger. No punctuation. Just a question. The kind of question a boy asks when he sees the edge of something he never thought would break. I didn't reply, because this was the reply. This, the quiet, the power shutting off, the reality unspooling without me. This was what leaving looked like when you weren't dramatic, when you weren't angry. This was what it looked like when a man simply stopped paying for his own erasure. I didn't announce where I went. I didn't post anything. Didn't tell mutual friends. Didn't warn Kara's sister or Lucas's girlfriend or anyone who might act as a bridge back to me. I let the silence do the work. Silence had always been my role in that family anyway. I was just finally using it with intention. By nightfall, I was settled into a place that didn't know me. Clean address. Neutral walls. No history baked into the corners. The phone lay face down on the table like an unused P*N. It stayed quiet longer than I expected. That was the strangest part. No screaming voicemails. No rage texts. No threats. Just gaps. Long ones. The kind that form when people are busy panicking instead of posturing. Later, I learned how that night went for them. Kara tried to negotiate with the landlord after he left. She offered partial payment. Promises. Tears. He listened politely, then repeated the same sentence he'd already said twice. Without the leaseholder, there is no agreement. She tried to say my name like it still carried authority. Didn't. Lucas searched for legal loopholes online. Tenant rights. Emergency occupancy. Every answer ended the same way. Proof of residence required. Proof of payment required. My absence was a missing limb they couldn't fake. Milo packed a bag. Not everything. Just essentials. Chargers. Headphones. His laptop. He slept on a friend's couch that night because the house felt unstable. Like something might collapse while he slept. And Kara? She sat at the kitchen table until after midnight with the lights off, holding a phone that no longer connected to anything. Not to me. Not to money. Not to certainty. I didn't feel triumph when I imagined it. I felt something colder. Finality. By the next morning, my phone had messages again. Not frantic now. Measured. Strategic. Kara tried apologies first. I didn't mean it like that. Then confusion. You know how stressed I've been. Then bargaining. We can reset. Just come home and we'll talk. Home. That word used to mean something. Now it just sounded like a financial term. Lucas texted next. Short. Defensive. You didn't have to go this far. Not I'm sorry. Not we were wrong. Just disappointment that the machine had stopped working. Milo didn't text again. That hurt more than the others. Not because he owed me more, but because he'd understood the situation faster than the rest. He knew what I was, or rather what I had been. A support beam, not a person. I never responded, because there was nothing left to explain. You don't argue with people who only recognize your value when you're gone. You don't negotiate with those who confuse dependence with love. And you don't return to a place that taught you your dignity was optional. A week passed. Then 2. The landlord followed through. Early vacancy notice filed. Utilities flagged. The house, the one I paid nearly $9,000 a month for, became a countdown. I heard Kara moved in with her sister temporarily. Lucas deferred a semester. Milo stayed with friends. Todd never showed up. Not once. No rescue. No check. No apology. Just absence meeting absence. And me? I slept better than I had in years. Not because I was happy, but because I wasn't being drained. Because every dollar I earned stayed where I put it. Because no one woke me up with disappointment disguised as expectation. I cooked for myself, ate in silence, walked at night, thought about the years I had spent proving my worth to people who were invested in never seeing it. And slowly, painfully, I understood something I should have learned much earlier. You can sacrifice endlessly and still be disposable. You can provide without limit and still be replaceable. Because respect doesn't grow from generosity. It grows from boundaries, and I had none. They didn't lose a husband that night. They didn't lose a stepfather. They lost infrastructure. They lost the invisible man who made their comfort possible and their disrespect consequence-free. And I stopped paying for contempt. So tell me, was I wrong? Was I cruel to walk away without shouting, without begging, without one last explanation? Or would you have stayed, kept funding your own erasure, just to be called trash under a roof you paid for? I already know my answer, but I want to hear yours.